Hello, friend. My name is Travis Norville. I'm the pastor here at Judson Memorial Baptist Church, and on behalf of all those who call Judson Church their spiritual home, we want to say welcome, we want to say thank you, and we just want to say how happy we are that we are sharing a little bit of time together. Format for today, you're going to have this welcome, and I got a few announcements to share. Then we're going to take some pieces from the Sunday service and share them in a video. So that means we'll have the choir, we'll have Carolyn Kolovitz's guided meditation. Jeffrey Bruzek gave a personal reflection. Then we'll have my sermon. Tell us what you think of this. We're trying this out, and tell us if this works for you, or maybe it doesn't. We don't know. A few announcements to share with you. Coming up this week, some things that are going to be happening. This is in the Connections, which is our, if you're in person on a Sunday morning or you get the email, you get this. Either as an attachment or as a real thing. I mean, as a real thing, as a printed thing. And what we do is we take the, just announcements for the week, and we put them in here, and it's got the order of worship and some other goodies that we have. So a couple things that are coming up. One, this Saturday will be the observance, All Souls observance, and this is October 29th from 11 to 3, kind of out there on the playground. Tie a ribbon with the departed loved one's name on it. Share a picture. Don't bring an actual picture, like a copy of a picture, because if it rains, we don't want the weather to deteriorate the picture. It's just a way for us to try to connect with our ancestors, to honor them, to be with them. Like maybe you're like myself. I live 1,000 miles from where most of my ancestors are buried. But that doesn't mean I still can't be connected to them. I'm separated, but I can still be connected. That word religion, in the middle of that is that Latin root word for ligament. Religion binds us, it connects us. And here's a way to try to connect us to our ancestors. And that'll be from 11 to 3. Any and all are invited to be a part of that. On November 6th, it'll be our observance of All Saints' Day. So in the service, we will read the names of those who have departed since the last All Saints' Day, and just ask for you to submit those to the office, info@judsonchurch.org. And if you wouldn't mind, please provide a pronunciation for the name, please. Let's see, what else do we have that made announcements at church? The pie baking thing will be November 19th. They're doing a workshop on how to make pies, so make sure you know about that. The other thing we really want to point out, also, poinsettias for Christmas. It's amazing to think about this, but the forms are due November 8th. Please have those. And the biggest thing I also want to talk about is November 12th and November 13th. We are calling those Judson Days. We're bringing in Reverend John Pentland from Hillhurst United Church in Calgary, Canada, to come down and lead us in a symposium. We're going to talk about Dreams for Judson. We're going to talk about the mission of Judson, the future of Judson, all these kind of wonderful things. And John's going to be leading us. I talk a little bit about it in the sermon, so I hope that you take a gander at that. I hope you watch some of the stuff we put out there about John. You'll be receiving emails, cards, maybe even a phone call just inviting you. We want everybody here, whether you've been here at Judson for 40 minutes or 4,000 times, right? Please come and be a part of it. And lastly, this is my last bit of the sermon announcements. This week it finally arrived. This is only one of them, right? This is a 5-pound bag of coffee. Not just any coffee, but the Helen Barrett Montgomery Roast. Or the Helen Barrett Montgomery Blend. Helen Barrett Montgomery was the first woman to translate the Greek New Testament into English. And she did that a little over 100 years ago. And so some friends, some colleagues that live in Rochester, New York, where Helen Barrett Montgomery lived her adult life. One of them is a Colgate-Rochester Crozier Divinity School grad, and she works with women who are part of coming into sobriety and trying to get some job skills. And one of those is a great organization called Coffee Connection. And so one of the blends that they created was Helen Barrett Montgomery. So we've got it. We will have it here on Sunday. If you're not here in person, we'll try to, obviously we're going to have it for a while. But if you can't be here at all, because I know a lot of you live away, maybe we can send you some. That'd be great. Okay, thanks for your attention. Thanks for your love. Keep sending your prayer requests. We pray for those during the week. A lot of people, and if you ask to be put on the Tree of Life, people pray for those throughout the week. Those are things that we take serious here. Yeah. So, love this world into a new existence. Help us in that realm, and look forward to seeing you around. Thanks, friend.
Settle into ourselves, getting comfortable in your pews, feet on the floor, closing our eyes, and then just noticing the breath filling us up, leaving us, filling us up. And then allow a memory of a moment of awe in nature to come into your awareness. And really immerse yourself in that memory if you can. Noticing the sights and smells and sounds all around you. See if you can create that feeling of awe inside of yourself. Again, noticing how it feels in your body to be in that place outside in nature. And now, trying to bypass our thinking minds, just put out the question, what does this experience tell you about the source of creation? What does this experience tell you about your place in the universe? Let's take a moment now in gratitude for all of creation. What if you approached every day as spirit revealing itself to you, communicating with you? How would your days be different? And now allow a memory of an experience of being in the flow of creativity to come to your awareness. Maybe playing an instrument, or writing a poem or a letter, or baking for someone. Recall now an experience of being in the flow of creativity. Recall how that experience felt in your body, mind, and soul. What if every day you were open to receiving divine inspiration? Let's take a moment now to be thankful for these gifts of creative flow. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
That was awesome. I'm gonna steal a little thunder from Travis here. Can I get an amen? Amen. I always wanted to do that. Life's fulfilled, right? All right, Pastor Travis asked me to talk today about meditation, the reasons why I like it, and sort of my journey in that. I'm glad that I get to talk about that instead of praying, because I don't know what I do worse, praying or meditating, but I know that meditating is a little bit better than praying. So here goes. My meditation journey started many years ago in the early 1990s at a Grateful Dead concert, which all good stories start from. We were in San Francisco, and this guy dressed in like guru sort of garb was contorting himself, doing Tai Chi, and then ended with a meditation. And there was like a flowy brook nearby this campus, and these big redwood trees. And these guys I was with, I was like, hey, what's this all about? So I got some explanations, and I went home that weekend and said, you know what, I'm gonna be this Eastern guru guy. Well, that lasted like 2 weeks, as things happen when you're 18 or 19. But I was not shorted in my journey. Later that winter, there was a VHS tape sale of a David Carradine tape for Kung Fu and Tai Chi. And if you bought both series, you're nodding your head, maybe you bought this. So I bought this, and that winter I did Tai Chi and Kung Fu with David Carradine in my living room. Well, like much things when you're 18, it didn't last very long. Because I turned 19, and then summer came, and I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. Well, my foray into the Eastern arts kind of took a hiatus until my mother passed away when I was 23. And, I was going through all these things, I didn't know what any of it meant. And so I got this book by the Dalai Lama, which changed my life. And I didn't know that it changed my life at the time. I had no idea until later. But the book starts, it was, I can't remember the title of it. I think it was the Art of Living or Dying, or A Hardening, Awakening the Heart. At any rate, one of the first sentences that the Dalai Lama says is, look, if you're looking for the truth, look through your own traditions first, because you'll find relevancy in a community. And I didn't think much about it, because I thought, aren't I trying to read this book and buy more books like other authors would want? And so I never understood it. So, or maybe that Sanskrit was just too confusing for a guy like me from the Midwest. So anyways, I tried to meditate for a little while. That didn't work out. But I was off and running. I tried yoga, where for anybody who hasn't done yoga, you basically stretch for 50 minutes and then lay on a sweaty mat for 10 minutes to try to figure out your day. And all you can think about is, I'm kind of uncomfortable, I want to go home. did that, the iPhone came out, right, with all of these apps. So I tried to meditate using all of these apps. I have 10-minute apps, little timers. At one point in time, when I was dating my wife, Meredith, who went to a Buddhist college, by the way, I was telling her, I was like, yeah, I meditate. I meditate every morning at 5 a.m., and then when the bell goes off, I'm done. And she looks at me, and she's like, are you sure you're not just taking a nap and you're getting woken up? And I know that this isn't a Catholic church and it's not a confessional, but I was totally lying, honey. I was sleeping all the time. So it didn't really work. But I still was not thwarted, right? Then I tried to think that, meditation was I could garden or I could bike, and that was meditation. And that's not really. Those are just pleasant things to do that make you happy, but it's not meditation and being intentional. During the pandemic, my foray continued because, I broke my foot right before the pandemic started, and I was on my couch, and I was mad, and I was angry. So I found this guy that was teaching Tai Chi on YouTube, and it was great. So I started taking Tai Chi classes online, bought a Qigong book, tried to meditate, and kind of went off until 2022. And, all of these things, I learned a ton of things. I learned, stillness and silence, equals spaciousness. I learned that, if you want to be really easy at meditation, on the inhale, you can wish peace and happiness to all human beings. On the exhale, you can wish that all suffering leaves all human beings. I learned all this stuff. The most important part I learned was that you just do meditation because you don't want to be angry all the time. And it allows you to deal with the garbage that happens in this world on a consistent basis. And granted, there wouldn't be garbage if people just did things the way that I do. So the idea is that you're prepared to respond or to react to a certain stimulus, right? So it's like a waterfall effect, which, if you're watching the water at the bottom of the waterfall, all you're doing is reacting and fighting, right? But if you are, meditative, you stand on the ledge behind the waterfall and you see the water go by, and, you respond correctly. So anyways, I didn't realize any of this stuff actually mattered until 2022. In the spring, as many of you know if I've told this story or not, I was listening to NPR with my child, and I hate NPR, and I only listen to it because it's the 10 minutes on the car ride to school every day. And there was this report about, how the roads were for bicycles. And then I thought, that's kind of interesting. And I found out that the guy wrote a book. And I found out the guy, leads a church. And then so I bought the book, read it, and I said, hey, honey, we should really find a new church. We should go somewhere. But this guy who I bought a book from has got this church, so let's go. So we come here this April, and we're looking around, and I didn't know I was Baptist, but I guess I am. We come here, and about 10 minutes into it, lovely Caroline Klostowicz, however I pronounce your name, I get it wrong, leads us through a meditation. And we left here, and I was like, this is wonderful, honey. This is great. And she's like, this is the church we go to, and this is home. And ever since then, we've been pretty diligent in our lives to come and to participate. And the Dalai Lama was completely right. Through all of that experience, through meditation, and buying books, and listening to stupid podcasts, and doing walking meditation out in my tiny patio and kicking my feet and stubbing my toe, it made me realize that coming here every Sunday in the meditation practice that's led by Carolyn allows me to actually have a practice that's consistent, right? It's once a week. Might not be frequent, but once a week. There's stillness, right? It's quiet, and it's guided, and it creates these great questions that allows us to ask us, who we are and the beauty that we have in our lives, and it creates that spaciousness. And with that, he was right in that coming back to a community, coming back to the church, allows you to seek the truth. And with that, I just can't thank all of you enough to, one, to invite me to speak, but two, to allow this to be part of our weekly service. And for that, it does make me a little bit less angry, and it does make me a little bit better, and it does allow me when, someone says in our house, who ate the last cookie, I could get really mad and say, at the bottom of the waterfall, all you guys are pigs, why did you do this? Or I can respond and say, I bet my lovely wife has a great recipe that can fix this problem. And it allows me to stumble through on a very great way. So with that, I thank you all for allowing me to be here today and to share this part of your worship service. And thank you, Pastor, for leading us in all of this.
So this is the story of the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector. And I just give you a little bit of context what's going on. And, Jesus does not have like a pedigree, like a name with power. Jesus comes into the first century world. Remember, he's labeled as the carpenter's son, or he's labeled as the person from Nazareth. He's not someone that has a lot of prestige and power. And the only way that Jesus can create a movement that's available to him is one of these acts of healing, which he does, or these acts of almost kind of what we would call miracle works, these reproduction of fish and loaves. And there's also these other times, more often though, when Jesus is in these moments where he is arguing with someone and he's trying to shame them. Now, we think of, we never want to be shamed. Don't read so much into our experience of shame as in maybe a first century world. This was a lot of how do you create momentum. And Jesus is trying to get the Pharisees and the tax collectors, these are the two people that are in the story, he's trying to win them both over to his side. Now the ways that he does this is through this kind of honor-shame things, but I think the closest thing you can think of if you're ever around 13-year-olds and you hear them arguing, right? I mean, they're not arguing, they're just trying to put each other down, but they're trying to, who can be the most clever? In some ways, Jesus is trying to be clever and trying in these actions. So just hear that when you hear these stories read. So here we go. So Jesus also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and regarded others with contempt. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, was praying thus, God, I thank you that I am not like other people, thieves, rudes, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give 1/10 of all my income. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even lift up his eyes to heaven, but was beating his breast and saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man, the tax collector, went down to his home justified rather than the Pharisee. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, but all who humble themselves will be exalted. Thus ends the lesson for us this morning. And let's begin by asking a very kind of personal question. Who do you feel you are in the story? Are you the Pharisee or are you the tax collector? Now the story, the way Jesus tells the story, he wants us to read it as if, to put all of the emphasis and movement of this story into the tax collector. But none of us are tax collectors. All of us, let's be honest, we're Pharisees in this story. You may say, oh, come on. Should be a little harsh. Let me ask you this. Have you ever said these words in the past 6 years? At least I didn't vote for Trump. Yeah. Did you say to yourself, at least I'm not like one of those people? Fill in the blank. Welcome to the Pharisee Club, everybody. Yeah, that's who we are. Now, the Pharisees get a bad rap throughout Christian tradition. It goes in with kind of the anti-Semitic flow of a lot of Christian thought, but that's not where we're going. These are people like you and me. Good people. Have good intentions, but maybe absorbed or a little too much want access to power. And thus, our ways of thinking go in a different direction. Now, we have before us in this parable 2 kinds of prayers. And I want to say that they are both honest prayers. For all of the Pharisee, Even though the text wants us to read against it, it is an honest prayer. And the tax collector's prayer is an honest prayer. If you ever get back, well, I asked you this is the question of the day is, what's the kind of funniest thing a kid has ever said to you? Kevin Kling has that wonderful little line, listen to kids because they're closer to the Creator. They may have the veil is just a little bit, it's not there like for a lot of us. We have that filter. We think of something, we think, we really can't say that. I also think of the time I went to go visit my great aunt Artie. I was probably 4. She was 93, 94. And I'm sitting there right beside her. And I don't think I've ever really been around a 94-year-old like that intimately, that point in my life. And the sun was shining and such. And I noticed that she had a whisker. And a 4-year-old, I could not stop looking at it. And I'm like, Artie, you have a whisker. And she can't hear very well. And my dad is, elbowing me and, telling me, shut up. And finally he just puts his arm around me and kind of takes me around, right? I mean, those kind of filters that, an adult would have. You don't say that kind of thing, but as a kid, you don't have that filter. That's kind of the honest speech. And I think in prayer, we are at our most honest selves. Whether it's like the prayer that we have before us, at least I'm not like other people, or it's this prayer of God, have mercy on me. There are some situations in life where we have when we are at our most vulnerable, when we are at our most dangerous. You get somebody who has no other options in life. That's when they become the most dangerous. And think about the prayers in those dangerous moments. I'm sure that your parents prayed them, or somebody in your life prayed them for you. I know I've said them, and I know other people have said it for me. Right? There's been a time when a kid has been in peril, and you pray, God, take me, not them. I mean, that's a dangerous prayer. That's a no other options. You will say things that you would never say in a normal day-to-day situation. But in those kind of situations, we say the things that are most honest about ourselves and about our world. The prayer of the tax collector became in Christian history, primarily in the Eastern and the Orthodox tradition, the Jesus prayer. Said with each heartbeat, Jesus, Son of the living God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Each syllable said with the heartbeat, said over and over and over again. You could go to a Greek monastery and you would hear the monks praying that almost, on the hour almost. The prayer of the Pharisee is some ways a prayer of, I would say, kind of the liberal church. God, I'm thankful that I'm not like other people. I give 1/10 of my income. I fast twice a week. I do what I should do. Reward me for my actions. It's a little bit of lots of things in that prayer. And I think we have to ask ourselves, what's going on here? What is the future of prayer? What's the future of the church? Taking these two options. Now, today is my birthday. And I don't know who put that nice pun in there, right? But a good pun, you need a good pun. I'll take it. I turned 48. Probably at midlife. No one in my family has ever lived past 96. The only person that did was, already lived to be 96. She was a teetotaler, never smoked, country living. I'll probably not make it that far. But let's say that I do. That'll be the year 2070. Now, what does that mean? In the year 2070 will be the demographers make the case. That will be the year that less than half of Americans identify as Christian. Before then, it's always been around 70% right now. They think it's going to fall that far in 48 years. Will Judson Church be around in 2070? Will the spirit of prayer be present? Will we still be praying the prayers of the Pharisee, or will we be praying the prayers of the tax collector then? I don't have an answer for that. I mean, who can? But nevertheless, I feel that we are right now at a very important place in our lives together, in the future of not just this church, but the future of Christianity in this country. We can't stop it from holding back what will happen in 2070. It used to be churches thought in sociological terms. By that I mean, families are made. And kids will just naturally be members of church. And then if they're not, by the time they're married, they'll come to church. And then by the time, if they still don't, then by the time they have kids, then they'll definitely be back to church. Okay, let's just take a little sample survey here. How many of you have kids or nieces or nephews that are in their 30s? How many of them attend regularly at any kind of faith service at all? Now, there's no judgment here. There's nothing that you could have done. Honestly, don't look back and say, if I'd have just, had more Bible in the house. Yeah, that would have done it, trust me. If we'd have just had, more family devotions and greater prayer time around the dinner table, boy, that would have done it. No. I mean, there were cultural forces, there were things going on in the world that none of us could have put up a blockade and stopped. We maybe could have put our finger in the dike and prevented a little bit of overflow, but no, you can't stop that kind of push in culture. And so here we are thinking, okay, what do we do now? We still have this wonderful message. It's not like the words of Jesus or this message of liberating love and forgiveness and community. It's not like those words somehow don't mean anything anymore. It's not that human beings don't have this need to connect with other people, don't have this sense that they need to be forgiven, or how to practice forgiveness, or how to offer hospitality, or to be hospitable. I mean, all these things are still the same in human nature, but the role of religious institutions has shifted. Maybe all we can do right now is to use the tax collector as our model. Honest prayer, not with a lot of words or with a lot of things to do, but just this kind of deep authenticity. Have mercy on me. Be with me, help me. Why me? When I think about all the prayers that I pray for people, or the prayers that I hear other people pray. There's many of them, but in some form, they're all just two prayers. Help me, and why me? Those are two prayers people pray the most. Think about it as a church, as a religious institution. How do we help other people in those situations? Why me? I mean, the answer to that question is going to take a lot of, kind of fortitude, a lot of serious thinking, a lot of reflection. But in some ways, it's just being there with someone, walking beside them. Help me. That's a different approach. Just to be there again with someone, to walk with them, to be with them. Those prayers don't necessarily need a fabulous answer, but just need a presence. You're not walking this alone. Let's try to come up with some answers together. Let's think seriously about things. Is that going to shift this great cultural tide? Does that mean by 2070, this place will once again, we'll take a snapshot, everybody will be in suits, and the pews, we'll restore the pews that were taken out 30 years ago? No. But maybe it'll mean we are free to really think about what's essential and needed in life. the prayer of the tax collector, these kind of primal prayers. In a couple weeks, we're going to invite a person here to Judson. It's going to come from Calgary, Canada, which seems like the most ironic thing to do. Let's go to a place, a nation, where they're already below 50% of a nation that define themselves as Christian. Let's go to a place where it's even happened faster than it happened here. We're going to invite a person down. We're going to have a weekend together. We're going to talk about some very meaningful questions. Our purpose, our gifts, what we have to offer the world. What does it mean to be in communion with the neighborhood and with other people? And I think we're going to find, a lot of people are offering really just prayers and methods that match the Pharisees' prayer. They're just going to define themselves as what we're not. And a lot of us still do that, right? We define ourselves by what we're not. That's the prayer of the Pharisee. At least I'm not like other people. There are some people and thinkers that are thinking, no, let's take the route of the tax collector. Kind of honest, primal, authentic. I don't know what the future holds. But I'm willing to bet everything I have, it's in the prayer of the tax collector. That's our only hope. And let's try to find some ways to really be these kind of people that the tax collector would both, let's imagine this. Imagine that one Sunday morning the tax collector comes to Judson Church and sits among us. Do they find a people in a way where they just sit and cry out of gratitude? Or do they find themselves once again hearing prayers or hearing teachings or hearing songs or whatever that say, at least I'm not like that person? So this morning, a prayer to Saint Tax Collector. Be with us. Amen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Brad Jorn. Been here since 1986. Just this last week, a good friend of mine from this community turned to me and said, "What is the future of Judson?" Well, I have no idea. But I was glad to get the question because I'm up here today to try to invite you to join a gathering of Judson community for the purpose of making some headway in answering that question. You already know this. You've already heard that on Saturday, November 12th, Reverend John Pentland of Hillhurst in Canada will be coming here to join us in helping us form the answer to that question, or at least make some headway in it. We will be meeting in Fellowship Hall from 9 till 2, and we will have a day of reflection, curiosity, visioning, asking hard questions, laughing, maybe crying, dreaming about Judson's future. Reverend Pentland is the author of this book, Fishing Tips, How Curiosity Transformed a Community of Faith, written from his own experience at Judson Church in Canada. I highly recommend it to you for reading. And in the introduction of the book, Pentland says, quote, "The aim of the book is never to achieve some spectacular result, but always to inspire curiosity and a faithful creative process. Even so, in the first 12 years of his ministry at Hillhurst, many spectacular things happened. Here are a few. Their ministry expanded in scope and in depth to the greater community of Calgary. Their Sunday attendance grew from 80 people to 350 people. Their church demographics changed from mostly elderly to a variety of ages with a family focus. And the size of the Hillhurst community, which is different from the attendance, went from 120 families to 435 families. It's not all about numbers. However, if we focus on being curious and being faithful in our process, great things can happen. In a Zoom conversation that Travis and I had with Reverend Pentland, we learned that our churches have much in common. We both encounter the world and God through progressive theological perspectives. Our attendees come from a variety of religious or spiritual backgrounds. We minister in a city out of old buildings, and we are small, but we have big creative hearts. Now, I think it'd be foolish to try to say we're going to be the next Hillhurst. What's important is that Judson be all that we can be. Let's discover and rediscover what that looks like. Please say yes to this invitation. Come join us on November 12th to dream the future. Every voice is needed, whether you've been here 40 years or 40 minutes. We plan to offer you lunch too, so if you plan on coming, please let the office know that you're going to come so that we have enough to eat. Thank you. See you then.